presentation in this session is Ron Powell is going to be talking about paw paws, and success begins and ends with good planning. Ron has deep roots in Ohio. Thank you. He has a BS in plant pathology, an MS in agricultural education and horticulture, a PhD in agricultural education, and all were from the Ohio State University. He's operating a 50-acre farm in Adams County, Ohio, and he's a founding member of the Ohio Paw Paw Growers Association, as well as a past president and founder of the North American Paw Paw Growers Association. So with over 3 decades of paw paw experience, please welcome Ron Powell.
Thank you very much. What a change from chestnuts to paw paws. Glad to see so many people remained. I was looking at see where I was at in the presentation. You know, at the end of the day, people get up and leave and don't come back from a break, so I'm glad to see everybody here. The reason I'm here is because Jerry Hankin asked me if I would do a basic presentation on introduction to paw paws. He said the last time I was here, renovation of a tired old North American Paw Paw planting, he said was just too much. He said there's all new people here, so they need to know how to properly grow paw paws. I grow primarily paw paws, persimmons, hazelnuts. I have 2 American chestnuts, 3 black walnut trees, some heart nuts, butternuts, and some other trees. And the reason I associate with the nut growers is because when I got into this business, there was no one else that would accept a paw paw and persimmon grower. They were the friendliest group, so I became members of the Ohio Nut Growers Association, the Indiana Nut Growers Association, and Kentucky Nut Growers, and the North American Nut Growers. So that's the reason I'm here. I'm very pleased to be back, kind of like a reunion every time I get with the nut growers. Okay, this is what a paw paw looks like. This is what a good paw paw looks like. They can be anywhere from golf ball size up to the largest one I have seen and held in my hand was 28 ounces, almost 2 pounds worth. It was one of Jerry Lehman's new cultivars, by the way. Jerry Lehman was a good friend of mine. He got me interested in the paw paws, and I began him with the persimmons, so that's the reason I'm heavy on paw paws and persimmons. The paw paw is a natural understory tree and can produce upwards of 50 to 75% of a full crop, even in fairly heavy shade. In my research, I've located some interesting projects and researches by growing paw paws and some statistics, and I'm not going to bore you with all these statistics because they're not necessary. But anyway, one of them was Tom Wall. I looked at what he said, and yeah, don't have to look around, Tom. And I asked him for a date the other day, and he couldn't give me an exact date, but it was around 2017, I think, when he wrote this. He did, I don't know, was a webinar or a podcast. But anyway, he said that, you know, if you had 10 acres, you could make a good living off of 10 acres of chestnut trees. And he gave the statistics on how much money you could make. And he talked about interplanting with paw paw trees. And I think Tom's are planted within the rows of his chestnut planting. He's shaking his head yes, so that's true. But you also plant things in the alleyway also because, you know, depending upon your planting, whether it's a 20 by 20 or 30 by 30 or 40 by 40, you got a lot of extra room. The spacing of paw paws, I've got just an outline. My presentation is basically just an outline. I'm going to do a lot of talking. So if you want to take notes, you at least have an outline to start from. You know, if you take a look at what the projections were, Dr. Patrick O'Malley from Iowa State University said that you could grow 14,000 pounds, and I think he was still looking at the 10-acre block, although I have in my notes it was an acre. I think the numbers indicate it would be a 10-acre block. So that means 700 to 10,500 pounds for a block of 1 acre paw paws, or 10 acres of paw paws. If you go back and look at some of the other projections, Ohio State said you can make $50,000 off an acre of paw paws. But you look at what they're saying is you can make $15,000 off of your fruit, $30,000 off of your pulp, the central leader is the best. If you're going to go to pick your own, Tom Wall suggested first of all, you need to train the people when and how to pick the fruit. The second thing is you need to prune your trees off so that they don't have to carry a ladder out in the field. You want to make sure that they can reach up and pick the fruit. Harvesting the fruit is critical. If you're going to harvest your fruit, you almost need to pick the fruit twice a day if you're going to do a good job. And you need to go around and feel the fruit on the tree. They're kind of like a peach. They'll get soft as they get ripe. Or if you're really good, you can see that the blush on the trees, the white blush on the fruit has disappeared. Mulching, 2 to 4 inches of mulch. I usually, when I plant a new tree, I usually put down fabric, and then I put mulch on top of the fabric to hold the water down. My farm doesn't have any running water, so I have to capture rainwater, so I'm very frugal with the water when I take care of my trees. Shade, Ohio State's done some work. I don't think they've published it yet, but they've done work where they're, of course in Ohio, almost all the woodlots have pawpaws. You need to understand this. Ohio is the heart of pawpaws. So almost every woodlot has pawpaws, so Ohio State was trying to encourage farmers to take advantage of those trees out in the woods So they were looking, and I had a couple of I didn't bring any slides, but of their shade houses out in my field. I think they started with 30%, 50%, and 80% shade out in the field to see what it did with production of fruit. I will say this. In the fall of the year, the trees are under 80% shade, were nice, dark, and green, and my other trees didn't look so good. But marketing, you need to know how you're going to market your fruit. In Ohio, most of the fresh pulp or frozen pulp goes to make beer. So that's where a lot of it goes. You got retail versus wholesale, which makes a big difference. Community-supported agriculture. Are you going to sell fresh fruit or value-added products? There's a lot of products you can make out of pawpaws. If I was going to go into it today, I would go into freezing the pulp, because the pulp really holds up well in the freezer. I've looked at some of the pulp in my freezer that's been 5 years old, and it looks good. It tastes still good too, by the way. On-farm experience, on-farm days, the pulp I just talked about, and I talked a little bit about pick your own. And this is peak fruit ripeness by variety. And you can see that PA Golden it doesn't need as many growing degree hours. Neither does the Kentucky Champion, but I've seen some charts that says Kentucky Champion grows in the same degree days as PA Golden. And you need to remember one thing, and I don't think many of the nurseries out there know. There's a PA Golden 1, PA Golden 2, PA Golden 3, PA Golden 4. I like PA Golden 3. I got it from John Gordon. But I think most of the PA Goldens in the trade today are PA Golden 1. It's not consistent. Some years it has a bitter taste. Okay, harvest dates. If you take a look at 2010, my harvest time was 74 days. A tree normally only will drop fruit 19 days. So, and this is a result, I think I had 54 trees I was collecting fruit from every day, weighing it out, and recording it. So normally you can you can calculate how long you want to be picking fruit. If you're doing a pick your own, you might want 74 days. But if you're harvesting fruit for pulping or something like that, 74 days is a long time to pick fruit. There's some years, even in Cincinnati, Ohio, that I was picking fruit end of July.
Anything memorable about 2010?
I was in my 5th year of retirement. What can I say? All right. Have I got a minute left? 1 minute. All right. So let me give my summary here. The first couple years are critical for your North American Paw Paw planting. It may take 1 or 2 years for newly planted North American Paw Paw plants to establish. I find it takes 2 years at my farm because it's mostly rock. I had a groundhog come by, one groundhog in 50 years. He didn't stay long because he couldn't dig in my soil, so he left. It's that bad. You need to mulch carefully. You also will need to educate your customers on how to use the North American Paw Paw, and point-of-purpose materials are great and helpful. The University of Missouri Center for Agroforestry reports that Paw Paw has a great deal of potential for inclusion in agroforestry production systems, which are defined as the designed integration of trees and shrubs with crops or livestock. Paw Paws can serve in a role as the main crop or as a supporting tree species, providing a wide range of environmental benefits that add to the conservation value of the overall system. And I think the Paw Paws deserve a shot in the chestnut plantings and black walnut plantings. They do well under black walnuts. I don't have any chestnut trees to grow them under, but they're under my walnut trees, and they do well among the persimmon trees.